Welcome to the lost pages of history, where we take you back to the ancient world of the past. Do you believe that a simple message carved in stone over 2,700 years ago held the power to ignite a modern-day war of words between two nations? This is the story of the Siloam inscription, a relic that surfaced from the dark, watery tunnels beneath Jerusalem, not with a whisper, but with a roar that echoes in the halls of power in both Turkey and Israel to this day. For decades, this ancient piece of rock has been at the center of a bitter dispute, a political tug-of-war that stretches far beyond the confines of any museum. The inscription's journey is a twisted path of archaeology, politics, and claims of national heritage. It was discovered in 1880 in a tunnel believed to have been built by the biblical King Hezekiah. The text itself seems simple enough, a first-hand account of the tunnel's construction, celebrating the moment when two teams of diggers, carving from opposite ends, finally met in the middle. It's a testament to ancient engineering, a snapshot of a moment frozen in time. But here is the shocking claim that has been buried for over a century. Some scholars now argue that the inscription's true meaning has been deliberately misinterpreted. They suggest it contains a hidden code, a secret message that could challenge the historical ownership of Jerusalem itself. Could a few lines of ancient Hebrew script hold the key to one of the world's most contested cities? As we peel back the layers of this mystery, we uncover a story of intrigue. The inscription was removed from Jerusalem under the cover of night during the rule of the Ottoman Empire and taken to Istanbul, where it remains in the Istanbul Archaeology Museum. Israel has repeatedly demanded its return, calling it a vital piece of Jewish heritage. Turkey has refused, declaring it a spoil of a former empire, now its rightful property. But the battle over the stone is just the beginning. The real conflict lies in the words themselves. Join us as we delve into the shadows of the past to uncover a truth that has been fiercely guarded, a truth that powerful forces would prefer to keep buried. What secret does the Siloam inscription truly hold? And why are nations willing to go to battle over a few carved words? The answer is far more complex and far more shocking than you can imagine. We will explore the possibility that the inscription is not just a record of construction, but a royal proclamation, a land deed written in stone that could have explosive implications for the modern world. We'll examine the controversial theories, speak to experts on both sides of the debate, and venture into the very tunnel where the inscription was found, searching for clues that may have been overlooked. This is not just a story about a rock, it's a story about identity, ownership, and the power of history to shape the future. The truth has been hidden in plain sight for 2,700 years. It's time to bring it into the light. We return to the heart of the mystery, to the Siloam inscription, a stone that speaks of ancient triumphs but whispers of modern-day conflict. We left off with a promise to bring a long-buried truth into the light. That journey begins now, by dissecting the most explosive claim of all, the theory of a hidden code. For over a century, the world has accepted the inscription as a simple record of a tunnel's completion, but a fringe group of linguists and historians operating outside the mainstream propose a radical alternative. They argue that the final lines of the text, long dismissed as a celebratory flourish, contain a complex acrostic pattern. When deciphered, they claim these hidden letters spell out a territorial proclamation, a declaration of divine right to the land of Judea, signed not by a foreman, but by King Hezekiah himself. According to this controversial theory, the message was deliberately concealed. In a time of great turmoil, with the Assyrian Empire looming, a public declaration of sovereignty would have been a direct challenge, inviting invasion. So the king's scribes, masters of their craft, wove the true message into the very fabric of the public record, creating a permanent, unalterable deed hidden in plain sight. The evidence they present is compelling, yet fiercely debated. They point to unusual grammatical structures, oddly placed words, and a statistical improbability of these letter patterns occurring by chance. Mainstream archaeology, however, dismisses this as fantasy, a case of seeing patterns where none exist. They stand by the original translation, arguing that there is no historical precedent for such a code. The battle is drawn not on a field, but in the pages of academic journals and the hushed halls of universities. This academic war mirrors the political one. When the inscription was unearthed in 1880, Jerusalem was under the control of the Ottoman Empire. The stone was swiftly, and some say secretly, transported to the Imperial Museum in Istanbul. For Turkey, it is a treasure of a bygone era, a spoil of an empire they inherited. They see Israel's claim as an attempt to rewrite history, to reclaim an artifact from a period long before the modern state of Israel existed. Israeli officials, on the other hand, argue that the inscription is the single most important Hebrew artifact from the first temple period ever discovered. To them, it is a birth certificate of their ancient kingdom in Jerusalem, and its place is in the Israel Museum, not in a foreign land. The dispute has simmered for decades, a constant source of diplomatic friction, but the story takes another turn, adding a new layer of intrigue. In the late 1990s, during a routine cleaning of the museum's archives, a previously uncatalogued fragment of stone was found. It was limestone, just like the inscription, and bore similar markings. Initial analysis suggested it might be a missing piece of the famous relic, broken off during its removal from the tunnel. But this fragment contained something that threw all existing theories into chaos. It appeared to contain a date and a name that was not Hezekiah. Could the tunnel and the inscription itself belong to a different king, a different era entirely? The fragment's existence has been neither confirmed nor denied by Turkish authorities, leading to rampant speculation. Is it a forgery? Is it a piece of an entirely different inscription? Or is it the key that unlocks the entire puzzle, a piece of evidence so powerful it could force both sides to reconsider everything they thought they knew? The silence from the museum is deafening, and as the mystery of the lost fragment deepens, the battle for the soul of the Siloam inscription rages on. The mystery of the Siloam inscription deepens, not in the clear light of day, but in the shadows of speculation and silence. We are left with the ghost of a possibility, a lost fragment, a different king, a history rewritten. The implications are staggering. If the tunnel and its famous inscription are not the work of King Hezekiah, then a cornerstone of Jerusalem's biblical history is thrown into question. Who was this other king? And why has his legacy been erased? While the world of academia debates and diplomats argue, another story unfolds in the margins. A story of those who believe the inscription is something more than a record, more than a deed. They believe it is a map. A clandestine group of researchers, dismissed by the mainstream as treasure hunters and conspiracy theorists, have dedicated their lives to this belief. They point to specific symbols and measurements within the inscription that do and align with the tunnel's known dimensions. They claim these are not errors, but coordinates, coordinates that point to a location of unimaginable significance, a place whispered about in ancient texts but never found, a secret vault beneath the very foundations of Jerusalem. Could the Siloam inscription be the key to unlocking the lost treasures of Solomon's temple? Or perhaps something even more profound, a hidden archive of sacred texts? This theory, as wild as it sounds, adds a new, explosive dimension to the conflict. The inscription is no longer just a symbol of heritage. It is a potential key to immense wealth and power. The struggle for its possession becomes a race to control not just the past, but a future defined by a discovery that could change the world. But how can any of this be proven? The key lies in the lost fragment. Scientific analysis could potentially verify its age and origin, but the artifact remains locked away, its existence unconfirmed. Requests for access by international experts have been met with a wall of silence. Is Turkey protecting a national treasure, or are they concealing a truth they are not ready to reveal? This refusal only fuels the fire of speculation. Meanwhile, our rogue researchers are not waiting for permission. They have returned to the source, to the dark, damp Siloam tunnel itself, convinced that the stone that was removed is not the only secret it holds. They are searching for tool marks, for secondary carvings, for anything the original discoverers might have missed. And in the dark, with water swirling at their feet, they believe they have found something, a new symbol, almost completely eroded by time and water, hidden in a recess just meters from where the original inscription was cut. It is a symbol that appears nowhere in ancient Hebrew texts, but it appears on ancient maps of the stars. The Siloam inscription, it seems, may not just be pointing to a place on Earth, but to a specific time, a celestial alignment that occurs once in a millennium. The map, it seems, is also a clock. A map that is also a clock ticking silently for 2,700 years, not counting down to an end, but to a beginning. The discovery of a celestial symbol in the Siloam tunnel has transformed this historical mystery into a race against time. The symbol, a unique stellar conjunction, points to a date in our very near future. A moment when the stars will align in a pattern not seen since the inscription was first carved. The rogue researchers who discovered it believe this is no coincidence. It is an invitation, a time when the path to the secret vault, or whatever the inscription truly protects, will finally be revealed. But how does this celestial map fit with the other conflicting theories? Could the hidden proclamation of King Hezekiah be a claim that was only meant to be activated upon this celestial alignment? A deed that only becomes valid when the stars themselves bear witness? And what of the lost fragment and the possibility of a different king? If the inscription was made by another ruler, does this celestial clock point to his legacy instead? Suddenly, the theories begin to converge, painting a picture of a secret so complex, so layered, that it required multiple keys to unlock: a stone, a code, and a clock set by the stars. The political implications are now more explosive than ever. If the inscription is a ticking clock, the deadline changes everything. The battle between Turkey and Israel is no longer just about heritage. It's about being in the right place at the right time to witness a 2700-year-old mystery unfold. The pressure mounts on the Istanbul Archaeology Museum. Is their silence a strategy, a way to run out the clock and keep the secret for themselves? Or are they too racing to understand the inscription's true purpose before the appointed day arrives? Every passing day makes the inscription's location more critical, and now we can reveal the most startling piece of the puzzle yet. Our researchers, cross-referencing the celestial alignment with ancient, apocryphal texts, have found a prophecy, a forgotten passage that speaks of a star-marked stone that will reveal a king's secret when the heavens open their eye. The prophecy gives a location for this revelation, not in Jerusalem, but miles away, in a place that has been overlooked for centuries. The final piece of the map is not on the stone itself, the journey to. The truth is about to take its most unexpected turn yet. The clock is ticking, and the final location is now in sight. The journey has led us away from the contested heart of Jerusalem, guided by a forgotten prophecy and a map of the stars. The final location is not a grand temple or a hidden fortress, but a place of quiet, profound significance, miles away, a place that has been hiding in plain sight, the windswept peak of Mount Nebo, the very place where, according to tradition, Moses looked out upon the promised land he was forbidden to enter. Why here? What connection could this lonely summit have to a tunnel carved beneath Jerusalem? Our researchers, guided by the prophecy, believe the answer is not buried under the mountain, but etched upon its surface. They are not searching for a vault, but for another stone. For days, they scour the rocky landscape, cross-referencing the celestial map with the topography of the mountain, and then they find it, not a grand monument, but a humble, weathered boulder, easily mistaken for any other rock. But on its eastern face, sheltered from the harshest winds, is another inscription. It is not in the familiar Hebrew of the Siloam stone, but in an older, more angular script, a linguistic ancestor. It is the other half of the message, the lock to the Siloam inscription's key. On its own, this new inscription is meaningless, a jumble of symbols and astronomical data, but when its text is overlaid with the text from the Siloam inscription, the true purpose is revealed. The hidden acrostic code, the strange celestial symbol, the mismatched measurements, they all snap into place. It becomes clear that we have not been looking at a proclamation, a deed, or even a map to a treasure vault. We have been looking at one of the most sophisticated scientific instruments of the ancient world. This is the truth that has been buried for 2,700 years. The Siloam inscription and its companion on Mount Nebo are two halves of a complex astronomical calculator, a device for predicting celestial events with breathtaking accuracy. The tunnel in Jerusalem was not just a conduit for water. It was an observatory, angled precisely to capture the light of a specific star at a specific time. The inscription was a record of its calibration. The king's secret was not a claim to land, but a claim to knowledge, a demonstration of power not through armies, but through the mastery of the heavens. The battle between Turkey and Israel, the decades of political maneuvering, the claims of heritage, all of it has been based on a fundamental misunderstanding. They have been fighting over a single component of a larger machine, like two nations arguing over the ownership of a single gear from a complex clock, all while remaining oblivious to the clock's true function. The shocking claim we began with is this: the Siloam inscription was never about the ownership of Jerusalem. It was about understanding the universe. But this revelation only opens the door to a final, more profound question. A calculator is a tool, an observatory is a means to an end. What celestial event were they so desperate to predict? What message did they believe the heavens were about to send? The king's secret was not the device itself, but the knowledge it was built to unlock. The final truth is not written in stone, but in the stars it was designed to watch. We stand at the edge of the final revelation. The journey that began with a political squabble over a carved stone has led us to the stars. The Siloam inscription and its companion on Mount Nebo are not a deed, not a map to treasure, but two halves of an ancient astronomical calculator. The question is no longer what it is, but why it was built. What celestial event was so important that a kingdom would devote immense resources to creating this sophisticated device, hiding its purpose in plain sight? With the machine finally understood, our researchers input the data, the celestial alignments, the complex calculations, the clock set by the stars. It all points to one event. Not an eclipse, not a supernova, but something far more profound to the ancient mind, the predicted return of a massive, long-period comet, a hairy star so rare that its appearance was recorded in the oldest myths as a harbinger of immense change, a message from the heavens. The king's secret was not just that he could predict its arrival. The secret was what he believed it meant. This was not science for the sake of science. It was intelligence gathering on a cosmic scale. The comet was seen as a divine prophecy in motion. The knowledge of its return was the most valuable state secret of its time, a warning of a coming upheaval, or perhaps the promise of a new age of enlightenment. This knowledge was too powerful, too dangerous to be made public. It had to be preserved, its key hidden across mountains and its meaning veiled in layers of code. And so, the truth is revealed. The 2700-year-old inscription that sparked a battle between Turkey and Israel was never about the ownership of Jerusalem. The conflict, the decades of bitter dispute, were a modern shadow play, obscuring a far older and more profound drama. While two nations fought over a single gear, the great cosmic clock it belonged to was forgotten. The irony is staggering. The true value of the inscription was not its link to a piece of land, but its connection to the cosmos, a key to a forgotten chapter of human knowledge. The shocking claim we began with was that the inscription's meaning had been misinterpreted. The truth is that its very nature was misunderstood. We have been looking down at the ground when we should have been looking up at the stars. The lost pages of history are filled with stories of our ancestors' intimate connection to the universe, a connection we have largely forgotten. The Siloam inscription is a reminder, written in stone and stars, that the greatest secrets are not always about power over men, but about our place in the universe. The final truth was never buried in a tunnel. It was waiting in plain sight in the night sky. Follow the lost pages of history for more forgotten tales that will blow your mind off. Please subscribe, like, and hit the bell.